I'm going to make an About page. In Sublime, click File, New File, and save it in Views as About.html. I'm going to outline the basic structure of an HTML page. Again, all of these files will be attached to this video. So first, copy everything in index.html. Paste it into about.html. Delete everything in the body from line 12 to 17. Delete the style tag from line 4 to 8. And then change the title to About on line 4. Save about.html. I'm then going to add a link to a style sheet, and the path to the style sheet will go into a folder called CSS and find the file style.css. I'll make the folder and the file in a bit. Make sure you have your link just like this. You don't need a closing link tag, just like you didn't need a closing image tag. But for everything else, you do need to close your open tags. Just remember that you don't need a closing tag for links or photos. In the body, add a division tag. Make sure you close it. Give this division tag a class name equal to container. I'm now adding a comment. This won't be rendered by the browser. It's just helpful to remind yourself. Everything in between this less than and greater than sign is a comment and won't be rendered by the browser. Let's create the CSS folder. Open Views, and inside Views, create a new folder. Call it CSS. Go back into Sublime, hit File, New File. Save this file in CSS as style.css. Save about.html. This link to the style sheet will now work because it's going from index into the CSS folder, finally linking to the file style.css. First, I'll add some CSS that will only apply to content in the body of index.html. I'll then add some CSS that will only be applied to this div class called container in about.html. Open style.css and I'll show you what I mean. First, to add some style to the body, type body, an opening and closed curly brackets. I'll set the line height to 1, and then I'm going to add another comment. There's different ways to add a comment. This way, everything in between these slashes and stars won't be rendered by the browser. And I'm just going to remind myself that this will be the CSS that creates a full page background. Then type background size, and I'll set it to cover, and I'll have a background position set to center. Finally, background attachment will be fixed. Don't worry too much about this CSS. Just know I'm using this to create a full page background. Now I'll add some style to the div class container. So in style.css type .container, and then inside your curly brackets, I'll set a width of 800 pixels and a margin of 50 pixels. The main thing to remember with CSS is the correct formatting, like making sure you've included your semicolons and colons. To add style to the div class, you need a dot before the class name. So in this case, the class name for the div was container, so I added .container. So that's what I did on line 10. And then set the width and margin of the container. I just want to make clear that you could have called this class anything. It doesn't have to be container. I just chose the name container. But then you would have to change how you access that div in style.css as well. So just remember, you can call the div class whatever you want, but you have to be consistent with your naming. So save style.css. In the next one, we'll continue working on the about page.